Hi, in this video we are going to talk about the GlideForm classes that are available within ServiceNow. Um, and the GlideForm classes that we are talking about are basically to customize the forms that we have within our custom application or the global applications that we have within ServiceNow or the template applications that we have in ServiceNow as well. All right, so this is unlike the Glide record, which is supposed to do all the database operations. So Glide record was supposed to do all the create, read, update, or delete operations, that we used to do for all the database, operations that we have into the system, right? So Glide record does that, but Glide form is to, control the behavior of the form or the screens that you design within your custom applications here in ServiceNow. That's about GlideForm and the custom application in ServiceNow. All right. So unlike the Glide record, which is a server-side component, and we used to run that onto the, just for the testing purposes, we used to run that into the scripts background because we only were interested into getting the data out from the database, and then we wanted to see that onto the screen, onto this console, the scripts background. And when, in reality, when we have to use those kind of Glide record scripts, we will be using those Glide record scripts into different kinds of server-side components that we have within ServiceNow. All right. But talking about GlideForm, which is a client-side script that we have, supposed to handle all the client-side changes that we do onto the form, which is rendered onto the client side. So we cannot run that GlideForm script onto the scripts background, right? So we'll be using this GlideForm scripts that we have. A couple of them are available into this notepad of mine, this file where I have some of the demonstration scripts that I have. So these will be run into the client scripts that we have designed for this custom application. Right. Now, if you're watching this video, it means that you might already have seen either my previous video series onto the custom application building, or you might have received the update set from, sorry about that, I was distracted. So this glide form will basically we'll run it onto different forms that we have built here, and we'll use client script to run and execute the scripts that we have written, right? So client script, the best way to go into the related client script for the forms that you are onto is to do right click, configure, and then go to the client script, right? This project interface that you are seeing, or the resource management application that you are seeing, I have probably provided you the update set of this resource management application that contains most of the components that we are discussing right now. So most of these components, the client scripts that we have here, are already provided into that update set that you can import into your developer instance and have a look of it, right? So basically, to understand how this application has been laid out, what is the data model that we are using, the type of modeling that we have done, the type of tables that we have created, the validations that we have put, how we have designed this form, the order of it, what type of modules we have created here, what type of reports we have into these update sets. Although this one does not contain any report into here, but then, yes, the other update set that I have provided contains all those information, right? So let's focus our attention onto the glide form classes that we have. And here in this document, I have written the description of the glide form class that we have, right? Now, the glide form class is to customize forms onto the client side, onto the user interface side, right? And the global object for the GlideForm class is G underscore form. So most of the times you will see that we are using this G underscore form keyword as an object to the GlideForm.js class that we have. All right, and within just this G underscore form object, we'll see that there are various methods available that we'll be utilizing every now and then for every other activities that we do here, right? So let's go back to the project screen that we have here, and I'll do right click, and then we'll go to the configure, and then we'll go to this client scripts. But before we go to the client script, let's look at this screen. When I loaded this form, you might have noticed certain things onto the forms. And this is a totally custom form that we have created, the custom application that we have, right? So here we are showing this message which is a custom message. You can click this out as well. This project ID field is a read-only field set as, this is non-editable field. This is, resource allocated is also non-editable field. The project name is one editable free text field, but then it is a star mark. There is a star mark, and then when I hover onto this star, I get to see this text as well. Enter your project name, right? And then I see this flash color as well, right? Which draws my attention as a user and says to me that there is something that I need to do this onto this project name field, right? If I go ahead and use this resource list and keep a check onto the resource allocated field as well, this one, when I select a resource here into the resource list, this resource allocated field gets updated by 1, right? See, I keep on incrementing, I keep on adding resources to the list, and the number of resources into resource allocated field goes up by 1. So this is also one kind of a script that is getting executed whenever I change the resource list here, right? When I remove one item from here, for example, if I remove this person from here, see the resource allocated gets updated by 3. Gets updated by 1 and changes to 3, right? So these kind of activities we can do by using different types of scripts that we have into the GForm classes, the different types of methods that we have under the GForm classes. Right, and here we are talking about client scripts because the client script is the best place where we can use this GlideForm object. Let's go back. Now when we come to the client scripts are basically of 4 types. The first one to start with is the onLoad type, which executes whenever we load the form. The other one is the onSubmit type. So every form that we have, so most of the forms we keep a submit button, which basically submits the form and posts the values into the form into some sort of tables, etc. So or some sort of validations we can do on the submit press of the button. On change is just now what we did for the resource list. Whenever we played with the number of resources in the resource list, the allocated resources were getting updated. So that's the on change type of client script that we see here. Let's talk about this project onload script. When I go into this project onload script, so you can see that there are a couple of fields that we need to fill in order to create a client script. So name, the table name of the the module, the UI type, and the type of the client script is something that we need to provide. Active is supposed to be checked in order that you are making your client script applicable onto the type of activity that you are doing onto the form. Application, since this is a scoped application, so you are seeing the resource management scope which is tied to this resource management application, so you have it here. Global and inherited are optional fields. We'll talk about these later. Now here within the script editor, you can see that I have my script, and all these types of scripts are doing certain types of activities into the project forms that I have here, right? So this project form that I have here, all of these are being done. Some of these are getting done by all these methods that we have used, right? So to start with, see here in the GForm method, GForm class, I have used this set visible. The first one is set visible method. Not to forget the JS logs that we have kept here, which is kind of a logging tool that we have to debug our JavaScript code related to the client scripts, right? And this JS log we can put here, and we can evaluate different variables that we generate in the runtime onto the JavaScript log control or the tool that is provided by ServiceNow. So you go down the page here on onto this script pop-up, settings pop-ups, and you go and select this JavaScript log and field watcher. And when you do so, this window opens up, and this will basically allow you to debug your code. So the JS log script that you put here will be executed, and you will see the effect of it onto the JavaScript log here. We'll make use of this later. Now talking about this gform.setVisible, this setVisible method is to hide and show elements onto the form, right? So if you, for some reason, if you have to hide a particular field onto the form, you may like to use this setVisible method onto the form, right? There is one more method that is available, which is known as setDisplay, which is also to use the hide and show type of statements you can do by doing setDisplay and setVisible. But the underlying difference is when you do setDisplay instead of doing setVisible, the space taken by the control which is which is getting hidden is utilized by other controls in the case of set display, right? For example, in this case, I have kept it as gform.setVisible for the project signed control, right? And I have made it as false, meaning I have made the project signed control hidden onto the load of this form, right? And I know that this project signed control is somewhere between the project priority and the resource required. And when I reload this form, I don't see that control anywhere here because that's hidden. I have made it hidden, right? So here we go. We do not see that project signed here. But then if and there is a gap between these two controls, right? And that gap is because I am utilizing this set visible method. Now if I comment this set visible method and instead I use the set display method, which is a efficient version of the same method, and I go and save this script and I refresh the form, see the difference. Notice notice the gap between the project priority control and the resource required control. Now I reload the form. See, the project priority is there, project signed is gone, but the gap between the project priority control and the resource required control is filled by the resource required control that we have. So this is the major difference between uh, the set display and set visible methods that we have within GForm class, right? Let's talk about this add decoration. This add decoration is something that if you want to highlight a field onto the form by putting a star mark onto the form and putting a hover message as well, then you have to use this add decoration. That's what I'm doing in case of this project name field that I have here, right? This is the project name field, and what I have done is I have applied this gform.add decoration, and I have applied the field name as project name, and I have supplied the icon name as icon star, and the text that I want to show as a hover menu or hover pop-up menu that I have a pop-up option here. So that's the text that I'm showing here, enter your project name, right? So that is coming from the add decoration, right? The other method that I have used is the flash method, and I am using the project name field, and I am using this color code as this hex code to display that color onto the project name field that I have here, right? And this 4 is to make it a persistent flash onto this project name field that I have here. So all these things are available here. Now let's go ahead, and for demonstration purpose I'm going to put this flash onto the other field as well. And other field that I want to put this flash on is the resource allocated. So I'll go ahead and update this resource underscore allocated, and I can keep the same color, but instead of doing 4, I'm going to use now -4. So -4 is basically will be used to flash the control 4 times within 4 seconds onto the form, right? Now since this is written onto the onload type of the client script, so we'll have to load the form to see the effect of it. So I'm going to reload the form, and now we can see the effect of it. See, it is flashing. The resource allocated is flashing. It does not have that star mark because we don't have, we haven't put that decoration on that field, right? Neither we have provided the text as well, in form of the decoration onto that field. So that's why it just flashed for 4 times because of this -4. -4 is to uh, show the flash 4 times within 4 seconds. If I change it to 4, it will be a persistent flash that you will see onto the form. Let's see. Here we go. The resource allocated is a persistent flash that you can see here now, right? All right, let's move on. The next one is G user. So we have put a conditional statement here. So conditionally, what I'm doing is I have checked whether the logged in user contains an ITIL role or not. And if the logged in user contains an ITIL role, what I'm doing is I'm setting the label field of a particular field to something else. I'm basically updating the label name of the field to something else, right? So for that, what I'm doing is I'm checking the role list of the field, which is in this case, role list of the user. In this case, the logged in user is the administrator, and administrator has this ITIL role. So we should be able to go into these 2 lines of codes that we have here, and it should then be able to update the label of the field which is named as project name, right? So that's what it is doing. So when I designed this form, so the name of the form I kept as project name, but now you can see that it is getting updated to project name plus this text, which is the suffix of new project. So you can see this of new project coming in from this suffix onto the set label form, set label of method, right? So if I negate this one, if I put an exclamation, because I had logged in as a system administrator, now I want to invalidate the check that I have done, the conditional check that I have done. So I'm basically invalidating here, and I'm going to refresh the form. See, this text of new project should go away, because now the condition that we are checking is if the logged in user does not have the ITIL role. But in this case, unfortunately, system administrator has the ITIL role, so this text will go away when we refresh this page. You can see it here. The project name gets updated to the project name only. The text is gone. So that's the effect of it, right? All right, let's move on. Let's talk about this gform.setValue. Set value, as the name suggests, this is to set a value onto the particular field, onto the form. In this case, we are taking care of this project status field that we have onto the form. The project status is basically the project active field that I have here, right? So what I'm doing is, whenever I am loading this form, I am putting the set value for the project status as true. So meaning I am checking this, this checkbox is getting checked whenever I am loading this form, right? And then what I'm also doing is I am making this resource allocated as a read-only field. This field, resource allocated, I am making this as a read-only field here, right? So this is what I am doing by doing this set value and read-only. The next one is I'm doing a conditional check and checking if the gform.isNew record, meaning if the record that I am creating onto the form is a new record or an old record, right? Old record means basically you have saved it. And the difference between these two is whenever I create on this module, whenever I create this module, create this project by hitting on this one, project ID gets generated, right? See, 1152 is the project ID right now. If I re-click on this create project, I'll now get 1153, right? But this does not get saved into the project list of record, right? The project list of record that you see here, I have 75 items, right, onto the form right now. I go ahead and do create project one more time. It generated the 1154 project ID, but when I go back to the project table, I still have 75 records into the form, right? Into the list of records that I have here, right? So basically, this is new record method is to check if the record that we are working or talking about at a given time is a new record or a record that we have already saved into the database. Right. In this case, if it is a new record, so what we are doing is we are setting the project status as true, right? So if it is a new record, see the project status, which is project active in this case is set as true, right? And we are putting a message as create a new project record using this interface. So that's why you see this message here, create a new project record using this interface, right? If I go ahead and open an existing record from the database, I'll not see that message coming in. See, I don't have that message, and here the project active is checked as true, but then it is editable, right? So this is the difference. And that is done by doing gform.isNewRecord, and then I'm setting the value read-only field of the project status field as true, right? And in the else condition, what I'm doing is I'm making it as a false item, meaning I am leaving it as editable, the read-only field. So that's why whenever you open the record from the database, you see that this project active, you can go ahead and activate it or deactivate it because this is editable field now, right? So that's about the GForm methods. There are different other methods available into the GForm class. You can go ahead and look into all these methods. I'll probably send you this list of all the methods that I have listed down, which is commonly used methods into the GForm class, and you can go ahead and use this scripts into your applications and see how these work, right? Let's also see one more client script that I have here onto the project form, and that is on change, because I want to discuss about this on change because this on change method is the method for the resource list control that we have here, the resource underscore list control that we have here. Whenever I update the list of resources into this resource list, this resource allocated gets updated, right? So this is achieved by doing this on change type of a script into the client script section of the project screen, right? So here I went ahead and created this client script on change of the resource list, tied it to the project table. The UI type is both, meaning the desktop and mobile, and the type is on change, and I'm tying it to the on change of the resource list field that I have onto the form. This resource list field, right? And this field, whenever this resource list field changes, the value of the item or this script will be actually executed, right? So that's why what I'm doing here is I am doing, whenever this resource list field is getting changed, I'm going to get value of the resource list into this resource allocated, and I'm splitting it on the basis of comma, because remember this resource list field is a multiple selection item. It is a list and it contains values in forms of comma separated list. You can see it. When I add a couple of users into this resource list, like Billy Cowley or somebody else, Naomi Greenlee or Christy Stika, see what I get? I get a comma separated list of names. Billy Cowley, comma, Naomi Greenlee, comma, Crystal Stika, right? So this is comma separated value that I store into this resource list field that I have here. So what I am doing here is I am putting a variable resource allocated here. I am getting the values from the resource list field, splitting it onto the basis of commas that we have. So this becomes an array, and I am putting that value into this resource allocated array, right? And then I am using gform.setValue to update the value of the resource allocated field by the number or the length of the array that we have here. So this resource allocated array, and the length of this resource allocated array is In this case it is 3 because we have 3 persons into this list, so that's why I'm updating it to the resource allocated field that we see here, by the number of persons I have included into the resource list, right? So this way we can think of multiple scenarios and then use the GForm classes, the GForm class and different methods available into the GForm classes, right? Hope you enjoyed this training session onto the GForm class and the methods included into it. Please try and use all the methods available onto the GForm class, and then come back with questions if you have any, right? There are plenty of methods available onto wiki. I didn't include all of them here into the video because we will have to make different scenarios in which we can use all of them, right? Try and use most of these methods will be very easily used into your scripting. Try and think in the scenarios where you can create them and come back with questions if you have any. Thank you very much.